Hi, and welcome to She's the Boss, the show that's all about female founders and women doing extraordinary things in business. Now, I hope that you're really going to enjoy the show. I would love it if you would comment underneath and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to build up our subscriptions. But enough about that and enough about anything else, because I'm so excited for my guest today, Lisa Andrews. Now, Lisa is actively working, and this is her LinkedIn description, which I love, actively working on solving the global grand challenges. So a woman completely after my own heart. She is co-CEO of Singularity University Australia, and you may have seen one of the other interviews I did with her co-CEO, Christina Jericates, I think I've said that the right way. She's the founder of Ignite Alliance and Wavia, and she's an investor and advisor to many businesses that focus on profit with purpose. And I can't wait for this interview. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. So let's start off with what you're doing right now. Can you tell everybody what your active businesses are right now?
Absolutely. And I wear three different hats. So there's three different businesses, but they all are aligned. And I think that's the sign of the times that people do wear different hats at the moment. So
also, if you're an entrepreneur, you can't help yourself, and I sense that you might be. So tell us all.
Fantastic. And I'll give you the big vision of the next 10 years, because then you'll be able to see how they all fit together, in that I have this obsession with a future of perfect knowledge. And the way that technology has changed, I think the speed of change we're all keeping up with. But if you go back 20 years, we didn't have Facebook and social media, and we weren't able to connect with people internationally the way that we do. And then if you fast forward into the next 10, 20 years, one of the things that I really love is that we're going to have 500 billion devices and 100 trillion sensors on the planet.
Wow,
so currently
there's huge numbers.
There's 50 billion devices and a trillion sensors at the moment. And so the vision in the next 10 years is to be able to triage the world's problems and be able to all collaborate to help solve them together. So
I love it. What a fantastic goal. So so tell me how your various businesses fit into this big vision.
Beautiful. So Ignite Alliance is my background, and have had that business for 8 years. And it's the start of my entrepreneurial journey and being in business just for myself. And that's primarily a professional services group. So I'm a CFO by trade. I do virtual CFO services. We do government grant applications for businesses and finance team operations. So it's been the bread and butter, and it's been supporting everything that we've been doing for the last 8 years. And then as you met Christina and had the interview with her last week, I saw published, the license for Singularity Australia was one of the pivotal moments in the business, where Singularity University is really inspiring, educating and empowering leaders to use exponential technology to solve humanity's grand challenges. And so as the co-CEO of that business and the license for Australia, I love it because as a CFO, I always tell people, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? And then gap analysis. And the technologies that are coming into the future, the latest in nanotechnology, bionics, robotics, AI, VR, network sensors, are going to impact every industry.
And SaaS platforms, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to impact every industry and business in the next 10 years. And so having the license for that and be able to help with that education piece for leaders to be able to know and see the road ahead was super cool. And then Wavia is the new platform. So it's the third one, and it's really removing the friction of capital, primarily to empower communities.
I just have to say, I love what you're doing there, because, I have covered over the last 12 months, I have talked repeatedly about how hard it is for female founders to be able to access funds. So I have to kind of reveal that I'm going to go on this journey with you with Wavia, and She's the Boss. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, so now that you've told us those three, talk to me a little bit about, what does perfect communication mean?
Perfect communication. So the world of perfect knowledge?
Sorry, the world of perfect knowledge.
Future of perfect knowledge. So imagine in the future with all these devices and sensors, and a lot of people now are starting to measure and track a lot with their health. And if you think about the Apple Watch, I've got an Aura ring, it tracks my sleep, it tracks my activity. and we're starting to record a lot more. And so in the future, in 10 years' time, imagine this model of the world where you can know anything, anytime, anywhere.
So how is that different, though, from now, where we can obviously go on the internet and find out just about anything that we want?
It's a different search model. So real-time information, I think, is going to be the huge transition for that. And we know that there's currently world hunger, and you can go online and you can see that. But can you see hungry people? And do you actually know, and do you think we can actually handle the suffering that's happening in the world at the moment? And so there's a really fantastic dashboard with one of our faculty members, which is worldpoverty.io. And you can actually see the amount of people that live below the poverty line and how many are getting out of poverty day by day.
What, in real time, so that you can actually go on it and see numbers clicking over up or down?
Yeah. And so that's a data dashboard. And that's a sign of the kind of information that we have today. Imagine in 10 years' time, and we currently actually have technology, you can go onto planet.com and you can actually log into their 150 plus satellites that are circulating the Earth every day, and you can develop on their platform.
What?
So
I didn't even know this. That sounds fantastic. So freaky.
I love that the technology exists and it's democratized, so anybody can actually go on and develop this kind of software. And then I thought to myself, what do we actually need to know? Or what do we want to know? And so I thought, how many kangaroos do we have in Australia? And imagine the machine learning, the visual recognition software the software at the moment is getting down to a 75 centimetre resolution. And so we're almost there, and cameras are getting better and better all the time.
That's amazing.
But you could ask anything, and you could log in, you can see where they are, almost like Google Earth, where you can see places now.
Well, I did a seminar a couple of weeks ago, and people were talking about bushfires in there and talking about being able to spot bushfires as they combust and being able to stop them before they kind of do the horror that we had over last January and as America is getting now. Is that the kind of thing that it would be able to do? Because they were talking about, somehow or other having sensors across the national parks and things so that if something sparked up, you'd be able to see it straight away.
Absolutely. And interesting that you say that, because CSIRO, we did a webinar with CSIRO just recently, and they were sharing from their team that specialise in wildfires and bushfires, the technology that they're using. And they do actually have satellites, and they can see that from satellite, not just sensors on the ground. From outer space.
A little spark just go. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. When you start thinking 20 years from now, how that might develop into something, I mean, it's going to solve so many world problems.
And it's really beautiful, because this is the kind of technology that governments are using at the moment, and large corporates are starting to use it, but it's also democratized. So any entrepreneur can tap in and they can develop on this kind of platform, which is so exciting.
It is. And also, I guess, from a female point of view, we've got more and more women getting into coding and STEM, or young girls. So hopefully we'll have a whole lot of women that will be able to lead the way in that space as well.
Definitely. One of the things that inspires me about the future is that I do believe that most people want to make a difference. And I think the primary drivers for that is they typically want to end suffering for the current population today.
Yep.
Or they want to increase happiness for the population alive today. Or the third thing, they want to make the world better for future generations to come, and environmental. So whatever that driver is, and I think that females have such a great advantage as we go towards this profit with purpose and the ability to be able to align with what the world and people need, that caring aspect, and then empowering people with technology to be able to impact a lot of people. We're in a really good space.
Amazing. Oh, you just give me so much hope for the future and optimism. So talk to me about whether there was a light bulb moment. Was there something that happened that made you go down this particular path?
I think there's two light bulb moments that really ring true to me, and I'll give you a business one and then I'll give you the personal one as well.
Okay.
So just to do what I do from a technical point of view, whether it be CFO or data science and the technology side of things, I was a chartered accountant by trade. So when I was very young, I was working with a lot of different businesses and giving them advice, and being a CFO, and I specialized in tax law for a little while. So, that was kind of if I'm painting the picture of this little nerdy accountant who was very scared of being online or
You're,
on camera.
you're painting a picture of a life I would not be interested in myself, that's for sure, with all those numbers and fear. So what happened?
Yeah, so I like to say I was a really good accountant that I got approached by one of the businesses I was working with, which was an engineering firm, and ended up being a shareholder in that business. So we did large scale control systems and automation, primarily mining and utilities. And I was able to be a part of the team. We grew the business from 16 to 82 staff, and I sold it in 2012. However,
Wow.
the light bulb moment was, as an accountant, I thought I was giving really great advice and what to do in business. And until I was actually in business myself and realized what cash flow meant, it's not until you're waiting up until midnight to see the clock turn over to see if someone's paid you that you know what cash flow is.
That's much more like the kind of life I'm used to, certainly. So what? Keep going. Sorry, I've interrupted you.
Yeah. So that was a really big one, to be able to go, I really want to help businesses and business owners, and it's not just the technical and the theory of accounting and business and what it is. It's actually being with them and holding their hand and removing the stress from being in business. So that for me was really super cool.
Yep.
And then the second one was that, and this is the personal one, was that I had a kidney transplant when I was 17.
Gosh.
Yeah, so I'll give you the really long story short, was that I had a burst appendix at school camp. It got left in my stomach for too long, and I ended up with a 5-hour surgery. They didn't get it all out. I threw up for 6 months and lost my kidneys. So that's a really short story.
I definitely want to unpack that into a longer story in a minute, but keep talking about your light bulb moment. So that happened to you, and how did that affect you? What did that do to you sort of psychologically?
Yeah, so my mum gave me a kidney when I was 17, which was fantastic.
Wow.
Ended up in hospital for 3 years, on and off, in for 3 months, out for a week, in for 3 months, out for a week. And I didn't realize it at the time. I couldn't afford the television. So I think I learned to meditate, and I got really good and okay at being at peace with myself. And then, being in a hospital room for 3 months and not being able to leave. When you were actually allowed outside, I'd sit in the park and I was just so happy that I was outside and the sun was out, and you really start to appreciate life.
And so is that sort of what it did for you, do you think? Just made you appreciate life? But why did it give you this, I guess, desire to change the world?
So at the time, I was in really strong denial. So that's probably not quite the light bulb moment. It was that I was so far in denial that I threw myself into work 7 days a week. I worked full time, I studied full time, and I played this catch-up game.
Yeah.
Because life's too short, and the thing that I valued the most.
Yeah. So what happened?
I worked way too hard, too hard, and I think I went to India, and it was actually, I'm getting on my Facebook feed at the moment, it was 8 years ago this week that I was in India, and it was with Tony Robbins on a platinum partnership. And we went into this room, and I'd sold the engineering business. We went into this room and he said, we're going to meditate for 4 hours. And I started freaking out. The world's going to crash down without me. And I realized I was playing this catch-up game because life was too short. And I wanted to make sure I got ahead, as opposed to valuing other things in life. I was all about work and too much about work.
Yeah, but which is understandable. I think a lot of women, and it's whether it's illness or other things, if you drop out of your career for a while and then come back into it, you do still feel like you need to get on a treadmill to try and get yourself ahead. But I was waiting for a burnout, actually. I was waiting for you to say, my body said no. Was there something like that happened, or it was just a sort of a psychological moment where you just went, hang on a minute, I need to stop and smell the roses?
Yeah, it was a hang on a moment. I need to stop and smell the roses. And what am I doing? Why am I not working on things that are important? And where do you fit in the world? What difference are you making? What legacy are you leaving? How are you going to be remembered? And, doing 6-minute time logging in an accounting firm or running an engineering business and working and putting so much time and effort into these things, is that something that's going to leave a legacy?
And I think that is something that hits a lot of us, and particularly women, at certain times where we just go, hang on a minute, I mean, they're big, big questions that you were talking about. How can I make a difference? How can I leave an impression on the world? What's my legacy? But super important, and I think probably will get more and more so over the next few years, particularly as we come out of this pandemic. But anyway, listen, let me now wind you all the way back, because I am super nosy and I want to hear about how your career unfolded. I mean, for you to run an accounting firm with 82 staff is ginormous. So how did it take me back from 17 when that happened to you? How did your career unfold?
Good. Yeah. Okay. The snapshot journey, because it's not been traditional.
That's why I'm always interested, because people kind of think, oh, you decide that you're going to run this and it just all happens, but it doesn't normally happen that way. And we have plenty of time, so there's no need for you to do it too short. Tell me all.
Beautiful. I think I grew up with my mum was a single parent with 3 kids.
Okay.
And so I was school ducks. I was the nerd of the family. So they say when you've got 3 kids, one of them's the naughty one, one of them's the good one, and one of them's the funny one. I don't know if you've heard that analogy.
You were the good one. I have. I was one of 4, so I just felt like I was the eldest. So I know what that was like. But I've got 3 kids. I don't know that they all follow that rule, but I've heard it.
Yeah.
So which one were you? You were the good one.
So I was the little nerd. I was the straight A student, and wanted to be. I was always very smart, and I was good at maths, and just wanted to be a maths professor when I grew up. I just wanted to do maths all day.
Wow, that's amazing.
My first job. And so part of this was, I want to make sure I want to get a job straight away, and I want to be able to contribute to the family and all the rest. So I started at McDonald's. And it's probably one of the best things that I could ever recommend for what's been pivotal in my career.
Really? That's really interesting. How? Why?
It taught me discipline. So I love process and procedure. So working there for 3 years was, they've got their standard operating procedures and whatnot, and you're actually, judged on how good that you made the fries or you cleaned the dining room. And, for a little nerd, it's a little pat on the back. You did a good job when you get your little sign off that you did it well.
So how was that feeding into your ambition? If you want to take over the world and you started at McDonald's, did you start going, I'm going to go to McDonald's University and run one?
Oh, gosh, no, I just wanted to make money.
Right, okay. Of course, well, that's also a great driver, especially
and so that definitely, and then when I was in hospital in and out for those 3 years, they were really great, and they supported me through a management diploma. So
that is fantastic.
Whilst I was in hospital, I was able to do that. I was able to do a few shifts, but also I was very shy and I didn't speak much, being a little maths nerd and love science and all the rest. I remembered walking out on my first shift that was on a serving people on the counter, and they had this little plaque, this little sign as you walked out, and it said, "Smile, you're about to go on stage." And I was petrified of saying hello to the customers. I was so scared of them, of taking their order.
That really shows how good it was for you, because obviously you got no choice. You have to go out and take the orders, and after a while, I guess it becomes second nature and you don't think about it.
Yeah, and I think it's that lesson of being putting the customer first, which I've taken throughout my entire career, everything that I've done and all of the businesses. And when you actually have that, the customer's always right, drilled into you, no matter what. I think that gives you a different view on wanting to help and serve people. And, I'm 90% introverted. So if you look on the scale of introvert or extrovert, and as we're talking now, most people would say, oh, you're an extrovert. Yet inside I see the world in ones and zeros, and I'm this little maths nerd. So I think that was pivotal.
You sound fantastic. I love hearing about a woman who feels like that, because you do hear a lot of blokes who think like that. But okay, so you're at McDonald's, you've done your 3 years. What happened next?
What happened next? I ended up getting another job in a management position for Heather Braised Pies, actually, which led me in. They supported me. I did a H&R Block course because I'm still driven by money and numbers at the time. So I thought I'll do tax returns
What's
for people.
H&R Block? Oh, it's tax returns. Okay.
14 tax returns a day. So imagine this 20-year-old little Lisa who's super scared of people. It's better now with McDonald's. And I'm doing tax returns for people who are in their 50s and 60s. So, I've got my hair tied back and I'm wearing fake glasses so that I look smart.
Fake glasses? You did not wear fake glasses, did you?
I just liked glasses. They actually were clear though. They didn't look glasses.
I wanted to wear glasses all my life, and
Me
I
too.
get eye tests all the time. But I had a thing, and I said, I'm not wearing just the fake ones. I've got to get.
I was hoping they'd tell me I'd need them.
Well, the day I turned 50, I qualified, and I just love it. I love wearing
so
glasses
I embraced this little nerdy accountant and did 14 tax returns a day, and then I ended up from there. That was a tax season, which is great. From there, I ended up getting a role as the assistant accountant and the executive assistant for the CFO of Fairfax in regional and community newspapers.
Oh, what an interesting job. I love that. So how long did you stay there and what did you do?
It was a few years, and I remember her so well. Nadine Martin, she was my boss, and she was a superhero. And this is what I love about women and women in business is that they take you under their wing and they guide and they mentor you. And I just totally adored her. I thought that she was incredible. And she was in charge of coordinating all of the finance managers for all of the regional locations like Newcastle newspapers, Wollongong, all over Geelong. And so I was in charge of helping coordinate the finance managers, putting together the report packs, doing a lot of the BI and a whole heap of really cool stuff.
Did you love working in newspapers? Did it sort of give you a whole different perspective on things? Because really from McDonald's to tax and then to go to something like the media, it's a very different animal. I mean, I started my career in newspapers as well.
Yeah, it was still finance, and I think they count every centimetre of the newspaper. So as soon as I got to count things.
Okay, so what was the next step after that?
Yeah, so just quickly on that one with Nadine, sorry. She was so great, and she'd take me into meetings and she'd give me advice all the time. And there was this one meeting I went into, and it was the board of Fairfax, and the CEO's executive assistant had called in sick that day, and she said, "That's okay, Lisa's here with me; she can take the meeting minutes." And she said to me, "Don't be scared; it's okay. Take notes, do what you can. Just put on your best professional, embrace." What the executive assistant of the CEO would have done. So think of her and think of how she would have shown up and sit there and be professional, take notes, and I'll help you afterwards. And it's just some of those moments that stick with you. It was almost the fake it till you make it advice that she gave me then of don't be scared, feel your fear and go forward anyway, and almost create a persona of who you want to show up as.
Oh, isn't that lovely advice? I mean, I think that there are women who will give you those little gems in life and you can't let go of them. And that's a brilliant one. Fake it till you make it is so true. I mean, it isn't just a trite saying, it is the truth.
Yeah, and she also shared with me when you're going to change jobs, go for a job that's 2 levels above your current position and stretch yourself.
Oh, I love that. Oh, she was amazing, wasn't she?
Incredible. And so when I did that, I left Fairfax. She relocated to Sydney and I was in Newcastle and it didn't work out. And she did offer me a job, and this is another one for girls. It's amazing how life choices. I stayed for a boy. That didn't work out anyway. I probably still would have been in media, but who knows? I wanted to help people. I really wanted to help people. And I thought I'm working for this big corporate, but I want to help the mums and dads and the small business owners and get that. I loved the H&R Block that when you shared with someone they were getting a tax refund, you could see the relief or, the financial pressure that they may have been feeling, that they were just so grateful. And so I loved that feeling. And so I got back into chartered accounting and ended up specialising in tax law at PKF Law. And they were fantastic, supported me through a lot of professional development, which is when I then had the engineering opportunity and went over to the other side of the fence.
Oh, so what did you do? Tell us.
So from chartered accounting into commercial. So back onto being a business owner side.
Oh, so this was when you made the leap and decided to go out on your own. Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yeah. And it was almost it was a leg up because it was a shareholder. It wasn't the actual owner and sole proprietor of the business.
So it was a good way to dip your toe in and see what you liked about sort of small business land, I guess.
Yeah, which was great because we traveled and we spent a lot of money on doing courses and conferences and learning and growth and doing all these really cool things. It was actually part of that business when I ended up doing the Singularity University executive program. And so we went over to Silicon Valley.
Oh, okay. So you had heard about Singularity University way before, like you were you'd done the course.
Yeah. And imagine, so the campus is it's at NASA in Silicon Valley in Mountain View.
Oh,
and
wow.
So here I am, how old was I? I was 29-year-old going to NASA, just from humble beginnings, thinking there's this whole other world out there that exists. And so I'm staying on the NASA campus. I walk into the classroom on the first day and there's this sign, and it's, as soon as you walk in, it's the first thing that you see. And it said, how will you have a positive impact on 1 billion people in the next 10 years?
Whoa, nice question.
And I was like, I'm doing it all wrong. I'm working 7 days a week already. I want to help people, but that's just, I felt the weight. I'm like, oh, I'm doing it wrong.
You poor thing.
I'm like, okay, I want to help. I'll do it. The way that I know how is 1-to-1, and I'll just work harder. So it's like, okay, no, this is actually too big. I need a change in mindset. There's obviously a different way. And so that for me changed everything, because it's just like, well, we can actually utilize technology to impact a lot of people. And the course was brilliant about all of the different technologies that are coming and going to impact our lives. So that was actually the point where a month later, I was actually in the process of selling the engineering business. And I was like, all right, what am I going to do next?
I love it, though. I love it that they were kind of firing you up and also saying, and I guess there's a lot of people out there, and I speak with a lot of women who are looking to try and affect that change and haven't thought of the one-to-many model that you're talking about, where you can, even like we are now, affecting lots and lots of people by doing one talk and pushing it out there. So what did you learn at Singularity University in order to stop it being so small and to start thinking much bigger?
Yeah, I think the one thing that rang true was, I love this saying, I say it over and over and over again, and I really hope that the message can be spread, was that 500 years ago, only kings and queens could impact 1 billion people. And then 100 years ago, it was the industrialists. And today it's you and me.
Yes.
And
I love it.
And if you think that as a mindset shift, and the way that technology is available now, that anyone can come up with an idea that can impact a lot of people. And I'll give you an example with, at the moment, there's a lot of people that don't have clean water. And we know, and most people that are watching or listening, they know that there's people that don't have clean water. And to come up then with an innovation, and there's so many cool innovations in this space, and I'd encourage people to check them out. There's, solar power stations that can, create water. There's drink bottles that actually take the humidity of the air, and then they create water out of the air.
Oh my God, I haven't heard of those. They're amazing.
It's so cool. And if you think about that, and you just think, okay, so with technology and science, that there is water in the air, there's humidity, and how can we actually get it into a cup out of the air, as opposed to in the middle of some of these countries where there's 1 billion people population in Africa or India and they have no water, then how can we get it in a different way? And thinking outside the square.
Yeah, I absolutely love new inventions and new technology and all that innovation stuff. It's so exciting. And that is amazing. I mean, you hear about all sorts of new inventions, but that's another amazing one.
Yeah, and if you think that comes from suffering, so there's people suffering and they don't have water, and if someone's passionate about it and they really want to fix that problem, then they will typically find a way. And there's a whole heap of incubators at the moment. If you've got an idea, they'll take you through accelerators. We have an accelerator program for people with moonshot ideas, and we connect them to design agencies, and then we can help them build prototypes and take them through that journey, commercialize their IP. It's a lot easier. And there's so many people that want to help people with ideas like that now, that it's really cool to be able to go, what's the problem in your world? Or what are some of the world's problems? You look at the Sustainable Development Goals, and even, women in educating women, inequalities, something like that. What's something you're passionate about? To find the problem, and then brainstorm some ideas of how it may be solved with technology, because there are so many people that are willing to support financially and with programs to then get that idea out to the world.
And there's also, this is one of the things that people need to think about. There are people out there with all the skills who don't have the creativity, who are going, what can I do to make change? I can't think of anything. And then there's a whole lot of us, and when I say us, women, but there's a whole lot of people all around who are coming up with all the ideas and going, I've got this great idea, but I don't actually know how to implement it. So for a lot of people that kind of come up with an idea and think, oh, look, it's not possible to do, I think they need to start thinking about all those other people out there that are looking for someone with a creative idea that they can put their skills into.
Absolutely. And you would have noticed when you spoke to Christina, she lives to help make the impossible possible. And she's got a number of workshops around that as well, which are just totally brilliant.
Yeah, that's right. Nothing is impossible. Okay, so you went to Singularity University in NASA, which is just so super cool, came back with this big idea, sold the engineering business. What did you do next?
I took a few months to work out what am I going to do. And
did you travel? What did you do in those months?
What did I do in those months?
It's not a question. You can move on.
I spent a lot of time. I was in Newcastle, going to Sydney. I was looking for inspiration. So I wrote a lot, and I'd take my laptop and I thought, okay, let's try and work out what next. What are the problems? I did a lot of research. I'd go and sit in a cafe in Double Bay because it inspired me. And I'd just sit there and I'd just think, or I'd go to a different location. I'd go to the beach and I'm just, okay, how am I going to solve the problems? How am I going to answer this billion-person question?
Right. So what did you come up with?
Ignite Alliance. So August 2012, this was 4 months after I sold the engineering business and I'd been to Singularity U, was, okay, I'm going to set up my own business and this is going to be my baby and this is going to be me doing and helping people to be able to impact 1 billion people.
Right.
So at the time, I was like, okay, well, what's the best way I can do that? I was like, well, for me, I love just, there's a beautiful story around, there's a grandfather and his grandson. And every day he's out and on the farm, and every day he's on the farm and he's doing his thing, and the grandson goes with him and he's saying to him every day, you can do anything you want. You can be anything you want to be. And this grandson who's out and farming all the time, what happens if he grows up to be Nelson Mandela? Who's the true leader? Is it the grandfather or is it the grandson? And how are we actually creating more leaders? And that really inspired me, as well as Tony Robbins. He shares a leader is judged by the amount of leaders that they create, not the amount of followers that they have.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know Tony Robbins was so profound. Okay.
I love it. So I was like, okay, well, I want to be behind the scenes. I'm the support person. I want to help people show up as their best selves. I want to just help them shine and put them on a platform that can really get them out to the world. And so for me, I was
exactly the same way. So there we go.
So cool. And isn't that beautiful? Because it's then, how do you actually define your super skill and the best way that you can contribute to make that happen?
Right.
And so my super skills, finance. I'm a really great CFO. I'm really good at being a CFO. So I thought, I'm going to do virtual CFO services, and I want to only work with people who have the potential to impact 1 billion people. And so I found...
What a great goal. What a fantastic goal.
Oh, it was so cool. And so I had some incredible first clients who are still clients now. I work with Dr. Libby, and she's brilliant. She's an author. She's creating a ripple effect that just impacts so many people to live better lives. And Sam Cawthorn, the Speakers Institute, and teaching speakers. And so I ended up indirectly, I think, helping and supporting people who are already impacting a lot of people. And so that was, authors and speakers and whatnot to start with. And then when we started getting into more technologies, and now with there's some really cool technologies that we help support, it's it really lights me up to be able to do that.
That is so fantastic. So that's what you're all doing now. Along the way, I mean, you've told me of some of them, but particularly since you've gone out on your own, have there been some challenges, let's say, along the way that you've learned from, where you've had to kind of shift and pivot in a different direction that you could share with us?
Yes, definitely. And so Ignites just had its 8-year anniversary, and for those of us in business, and even if you're working in a job, a lot happens in 8 years. A lot happens in 8 years.
I've got children, let me tell you that if you didn't think much happened before, you just watch a little baby grow to an 8-year-old and you go, wow, where did that time go? So I completely get it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So when I first started the business, I was so clear. I'm only working with people who can impact 1 billion people, and this is it was so beautiful. And I put it on my LinkedIn that I want to impact 1 billion people in the next 10 years, and I was shouting it from the rooftops, and just so excited about this whole new world that I discovered purpose, and that it was actually going to be so fulfilling. And I ended up. I grew the business. I doubled year on year for the first 3 years. So, I mean, we started really small. It was like 300 grand turnover in the first year. And then I think it was about 800 and then 1.6. And I ended up bringing on a business partner. So it was just me. And I thought, this is working. This is great. I'd love to be able to have some help and scale. And I met someone through the Chartered Accountants Mentor Program.
Yep.
And they bought in 50% of the business. And there was a couple of signs at the time. The first one I should have seen was take the LinkedIn comment down on 1 billion people. That's embarrassing.
Oh, yeah. But it's always in hindsight, isn't it, that you look at that and go, I should have known.
And someone you look up to, and, you start and you're going to build this business together and not the rest. And, I ended up taking on some clients that probably weren't ideal, but they were paying a $6,000 or $8,000 a month retainer for us to be the virtual CFO. And I got in this pattern where I'm just doing the delivery on a lot of things and being able to help these businesses and doing a really great job, but kind of got away from the purpose. And,
right.
I got back into that working 7-day-a-week pattern, and I just didn't feel like the leverage. I had so much potential to help a lot more people. And so you go through different phases and you're like, okay, this isn't working. There's something that I just need to shift again and get back on track. And anyway, we ended up parting ways and going separate ways. In the midst of
the learning from that, and I just have to say it because having done that myself, it's something that I always bang on about to women as well. If you are going to get into a partnership, please make sure that you have worked out how it's going to, how you're going to exit. If everything doesn't go perfectly, you need to have that structure in place before you even start the business. So I assume that you did that being the person that you are, and so it was easy to extricate yourselves, was it?
I love that you say that. So someone shared with me a saying that I use over and over again now, and it's, in business, design your divorce before you get married.
I know, and it's something that I felt weird about at the time. I remember thinking, do we really need to do this? And subsequently, I did have another partnership where I didn't do it, and it was an absolute disaster. So it just, when you don't want to talk to each other and things are all getting awkward, it's really good to be able to go to an accountant and go, this was what we agreed before, just make it all happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've been in partnerships that don't work, and I've been in partnerships that work. And my partnership now with Christina is so incredible. And that's part of setting those expectations, being able to have the conversations and know that we're on this mission and mission aligned. I think that's the biggest thing. So when I said I want to impact 1 billion people, she was like, me too.
And you just go straight away, yes, that's what we want to do. Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, and I agree, because I don't want to put people off partnerships, because, I've had a couple of fantastic ones as well that literally changed my life. So, it's worth doing. It's just, like you say, put the prenup in place first.
Yeah, and I think so from that moment, and so much happened at that same time. You know, the saying everything always happens at once. Uh,
That's so true.
so so I just had a kidney transplant, my second kidney transplant. My brother gave me a kidney, and so beautiful. It was through paired exchange program in Australia. We're so lucky to have the medical system that we have here, and so that's a different
So
story. So I just had a kidney transplant, and
no. Go back for a minute. So if you have a kidney transplant, it doesn't last you for life. I would have assumed that it would last for life.
it's a treatment, not a cure. And so I'll give you the
Right.
really short,
Yeah. Go
fun
on.
version of how this works. So your kidneys filter your blood and they make wee. So if you don't have any kidneys, you drink and it just stays in your body. And so dialysis is fantastic because it takes the fluid off your body. That what they do with a kidney transplant is you need a kidney. So someone donates a kidney, they've got two kidneys, and then they whack it in where it fits. So this is the fun part of the story.
That
So
doesn't actually sound very sort of, I don't know, appropriate.
most people think they take a kidney out and they put it back in that spot and
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what I would have assumed.
That's not how it works. They're like, oh, here's this little kidney. You need a kidney. Okay, there's like some room in your stomach there. I'm gonna there put it there. And they connect an artery, a vein, and your urethra to your bladder. So the blood comes in, it gets blood flow, and then it makes wee and filters the blood, makes wee, does its job. So it's really that easy. They just kind of like whack it in. And then
sure, and then you
what
got to find it
happens?
first. But yeah, so what could possibly go wrong?
So what happens is that the kidney is a foreign DNA. It's a foreign object. And so your immune system says, oh, foreign object, I'm going to get rid of that. And so what they do is they put you on immunosuppressant medication. So they call it anti-rejection, but essentially they're just wiping out your immune system so your immune system doesn't recognize that you've got a foreign object in your body and doesn't attack it. And so most people you'll hear of rejection with organ transplants, and that's essentially what it is. Your immune system's picked up it's a foreign object. And so that happened with me. I ended up with long, slow rejection. And they said what it looks like under a microscope is that your cells are being chewed on. So it's like
really?
My body kind of ate the kidney. Yeah. So, it doesn't last forever. It's a treatment.
So
and so this
how
new
long
kidney.
does one last? Well, I guess how you were 17
different.
when you had the first one?
Yeah, so it was 15 years. That it lasted, and you live a great fulfilling life. You've got to take tablets morning and afternoon, but it's just management.
And I guess this is the perfect opportunity for us to say, go and make sure you're on the organ donor list. Anybody out there, if you don't need your organs anymore, somebody else will. So, I just had to do that little community announcement.
It's totally life-changing. It's a total gift, the quality of life. And I was on dialysis 4 days a week for 5 hours at a time connected to a machine. So, and then, it takes out all the minerals in your blood. You can't drink more than 500 mils of water a day. It's not an ideal life, but the positive thing is it's in contrast problem. It's a manageable thing. You're not going to die from kidney failure in a hurry. So
that's right.
They can keep you alive.
The alternative isn't great. As we talk about, when we're all talking about getting older, and then you go, yep, but the alternative isn't great.
Yeah. And so selfishly, I love Singularity U and our connections and international connections because they are 3D printing kidneys now with your own DNA. And so you don't need to take the medication anymore.
Oh, my goodness. I hadn't realized, of course. Yeah, I hadn't realized the ramifications of that. So, yes, big one for you. So you need in the next 10 years or so, you need them to have that absolutely perfected.
Oh, they've lasted 50 years and 50 years plus. So I've got 100% kidney function at the moment. There's no sign that that I will lose it. However, the medication's not good. Any medication has side effects. So when they can 3D print a kidney with my own DNA, absolutely, I'd love to opt into that. So
it sounds absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's ethical conversations and all sorts that we could talk about there. But, for me, it's a gift, total gift. And so I'd had a kidney transplant. This is 3 years ago now, and not aligned with my business partner. So all in one, I'm feeling amazing for the first time in a long time. Fired my business partner. I left my husband, and I decided that I was just like everything in my life just seemed like it was offline, and I'd been sick and I was kind of in scarcity mode, of survival mode, of just, going through the motions and working every day. And, when I felt better again, I sort of looked back and it was like when I started the business, I had this beautiful big vision and I felt healthy and everything was great. And I just felt so off track. So I was almost like, you can go and you can go and you can go.
Right.
And I ended up firing a lot of clients and just saying, this is just not right. This is not the vision of the business. We need to get back on track. So I had this complete, within a month, I was just like, I'm going to shake all this off. We've got to get back on track.
I love it. It's like sweeping out the old and in with the new.
Yeah. And it was so beautiful because at that time, you always question yourself as well. Am I doing the right thing? And, you're actually, you're cancelling clients that are paying really good money and stuff. So it's really hard to let that go when you're in business.
Well, particularly when you love the numbers and the money side of it as a CFO and accountant. That bit is you're kind of going, hang on, that's not what I was taught to do.
Yeah, my brain and my heart were in conflict. Yes. Totally. So yeah, I met Christina about the setting up Singularity U Australia and doing things then, and we were so aligned, and I felt this starting to build, and so we needed some huge shifts, and that was the time that I did it. And it was all of the signs, and it's almost like you can tap into the different signs that you're on the right track. And it's almost like, I love the universe sends you a feather brick truck if you're off track, like, a little feather of like,
That's a really good analogy. I always, because I'm from Melbourne, maybe I always go, it's like there are times when you feel like you've jumped onto the tram tracks and it's just smooth sailing right the way down, and that's when you know you're onto something.
Yeah, and it's the joy of, when you're on the right track. And it was actually, and these other little signs and people supporting you along the way when that happened. So that happened in July 2018. Right. And in August, I won the Young Entrepreneur of the Year through the Hunter Business Chamber. And it was just
great validation.
Oh my goodness, it's exactly. And the meaning that had in my life at the time when things were not so great was just life-changing. So from there, I ended up, I jumped on a plane. I went over to Silicon Valley. I went back to Singularity University and I met this incredible group of people. I ended up on Necker Island with Richard Branson and kite surfing. And
tell me, what was it like being on Necker Island with Richard Branson? I just want to know.
I think I went there with no purpose or no outcome. I'd been invited by this great group of people saying, we've got a peer group and we go and we do these great trips and ocean conservation and really cool stuff. And I was like, that sounds amazing. This is what I need. And I was just holding space. I was like, I needed to shake off what was happening and just get out there. And I was looking to find out where I fit in the world. And I ended up having about 5 hours, almost one-on-one with Richard. And
Are you
for
serious?
me,
is he as nice as I think he is?
He is the sweetest human, and he was just about to become a grandfather for the 5th time, and he was just so happy. So being there, it's almost like most people when they go to Necker Island, it's expensive. They go there and they want to pitch him something, or there's a reason, or they find they need to get something out of it, kind of thing. And I just wasn't. So I was there and just, absolutely enjoying it. And so one of the things that, I'm very big on is being places on time. And I didn't realize that he is as well. And so we're on this island and everyone's on island time. And so the first day it's lunch and it's at 12 o'clock and it's on Turtle Beach. And so I go to lunch on Turtle Beach at 12 o'clock and there's Richard. And so we ended up sitting down, being the only people at lunch. And then a third person joined us for about 20 minutes. It was about 40 minutes later, everyone starts to come in and we were having these great conversations about the world. And
that must have just blown your mind. I mean, certainly in hindsight, that must have. But I mean, that would be an absolute dream, I would say, for almost every entrepreneur out there who likes Richard Branson. I'm not saying everyone loves him, but I love him and I love what he's achieved and I love the way he thinks. And what an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, and so the next day we're in the kitchen and we're making breakfast and I say good morning and then I've got my smoothie and so I walk away kind of thing. And it's just like, I didn't realize most people probably wouldn't do that. They'd probably want to stay and talk as much as they could. But then, I go and then I'm going down to the beach and he's driving past in his golf buggy and says, oh, do you want to ride? And gives me a tour of the island. And we ended up having, all of this time together over the week that I was there. And the CTO of Cisco was there, and we're having these great conversations around privacy and like really great world-changing ideas. And I thought to myself, because he did actually, after one of our conversations, he invited me to judge the Extreme Tech Challenge, which is his technology startup competition or scale-up competition, looking for technologies that can change the world. And to be asked to be a judge of the grand final of that with Richard Branson, I thought, and that's, another one of these moments of validation. It's like, if I can inspire someone like Richard Branson to then, for him to have more positive momentum and do good in the world, or even if it's just, like that inspiration or the validation that he's on the right track, I'm like, how beautiful, like that's where I fit.
Well, also that's where you get to your billion people, because he has got that exposure. And you're affecting him, which then has that knock-on effect. Oh, my God, that is just the best story. I'm so glad I asked you that. You were just going to skim over, and then I went to Necker Island, and then I did whatever. Wow, what an amazing, time.
Yeah, and I am very blessed, and I see the world that, the world's always perfect equilibrium of positive and negative. And so, at the time I was going through a divorce and a business separation, and this was happening and stuff as well. So it's really easy to see the shiny parts of it. But as an entrepreneur, and I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, it's both, and it's working out where you fit in the world. And I actually, probably one of the best things for me was, instead of set goals that year, because I always had a clear vision of what I needed to achieve, I set an intention just to be a part of the global conversation. And that one sentence, and I put it on my wall, and I'm like, that's this year. This year's goal is to be a part of the global conversation. And then the following year, I was like, actually, how do I be a leader in the global conversation?
Oh, God, I love the way you think.
It's like, wow. So I put that on the wall. And then January this year, I ended up at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and speaking with Andrew Forrest and Bill Tai on a panel at the World Economic Forum. And I'm just like, okay, so this little Newcastle girl, little tax accountant, just by that vision of, the intent of wanting to change the world and knowing that anyone can now, is how do we help inspire others to believe in themselves?
You are amazing. I love that. I love your big vision, and I love everything that you're doing. And I'm completely blown away that you spent all that time with Richard Branson and then go to Davos. Like, oh my God, Lisa, you are certainly not the little Newcastle girl that you might think that you are. Can I just tell you how amazing it is for you to spend the time to even let me interview you today. Your story has been amazing. Now, if anyone wants to get a little bit of the Lisa magic dust, what's the best way for them to get hold of you?
Beautiful. Go onto my website, lisaandrews.global. And there's a contact form there. Also connect with me on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people there and messaging. Please reach out to me if there's any way I can help or we can collaborate on changing the world. And thank you so much for interviewing me. I'm so inspired, and you do have such a positive impact on so many people in your life. So I am here to support you, and I love what you do.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. Now, for those of you that have loved this, and I can't imagine how you wouldn't, would you please make a comment, like, or subscribe? I also, if you want more of these interviews, I've also got a podcast called She's the Boss Chats, where I'm also interviewing incredible female founders. And if you want to know anything about She's the Boss or join our membership club, go to shestheboss.com.au. And I hope I'll see you for the next interview.